I've decided to go back and finally finish all of my old favourite games and get the Platinum Trophy for those that have one. With the 1 year anniversary of the remake having just gone by, I felt it was fitting to kick things off with the classic Until Dawn. Starting out as a PlayStation Move game for the PS3 under London Studio, best known for several EyeToy games and the SingStar franchise, Until Dawn went through several rewrites and overhauls before it was released by Supermassive Games in 2015. The plot focuses around a group of teens who return to a family lodge in the mountains 1 year after 2 of their friends went missing after a prank gone wrong. It doesn't take long for things to get spooky though, and before long their reunion has turned into a night of terror, with the player being tasked to guide them through the night and keep them alive until dawn. With the success of Quantic Dream's Heavy Rain and audiences not keen on having to buy a Move controller to play, the decision was made to reimagine the game for the more powerful PlayStation 4, which would allow them to improve their performance capture of the actors, most of whom were recast, and utilise brand new features of the console like the DualShock 4's motion controls, which were most notably used in the Don't Move sections of the game and could even be used to select choices by tilting it one way or the other, a nice nod to the game's roots. Until Dawn was originally designed to be in first person, with the Move controller acting as the in-game flashlight that the player would manually control and solve puzzles with, but the team noticed how good the game looked from a third-person perspective while messing around with debug cameras and decided to stick with it when rebuilding the game, though this idea would make a return in the VR spin-off game Rush of Blood. Development of the game did require some juggling as the script was written out of order, with the 8th chapter being the first one written and entire subplots being dropped. In one version, Ashley was a drug addict who wandered the manor like an Agatha Christie character, and in another, one of the teens was pregnant. This non-linear way of making the game did lead to some inconsistencies, which writers Larry Fessenden and Graham Resnick are aware of and have even challenged players to see if they can spot them. But we don't have all night, so narrative loophole hunting will have to wait. For now, let's get into the game and start earning some trophies. We start the game with a cool graphic of a butterfly that tells us about how our actions are going to have consequences throughout the game, otherwise known as the butterfly effect, and I hope you enjoy hearing about that, because the beginning of this game really wants to hammer it home to you. We fade in on some cool cinematic shots of the lodge that our group of miscreants are staying at before the camera pans out and reveals a figure emerging from the darkness wielding a machete. We find out that not all of the teens are playing nice, with a prank being planned against a girl called Hannah because she has a crush on Emily's boyfriend Mike, played by Brett Dalton of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. fame, and he's not the only recognisable face among Until Dawn's cast. Hayden Panettiere's here too, as well as Peter Stormare and Rami Goddamn Malek. His character Josh is currently passed out with his best friend Chris after a night of heavy drinking, so he's unable to help when the prank goes horribly wrong and Hannah runs off into the woods. Her sister Beth confronts the group about the prank before following Hannah, chasing her through a series of the real horror of this game, the quick time events. My bad. Along the way, we come across a totem, the first of 30 that we're going to have to find throughout the game. Each totem grants a vision of the future and also unlocks a small segment of the video called The Events of the Past, but we'll get to that later. This one's a death totem, and the vision that it gives shows Beth and Hannah coming to a grisly end from a nasty fall. When we finally reunite with Hannah, the goddamn predator shows up and starts chasing the sisters down, pushing them to a nearby cliff edge. We can't see what's chasing them, but in our hunt for Hannah, we do hear some strange animalistic cries, and something seems to be breathing fire, and whatever it is, it's scary enough that Hannah doesn't realise how close to the cliff edge she is, and she falls off, pulling Beth with her. One obligatory booty shot later, a figure appears above them and seems to be reaching out to grab them. We're given a choice to either let Hannah fall or let go of the ledge entirely, but no matter what you choose, the two sisters fall together, bringing about the prophecy we saw just a moment ago. Before we know it, we're in a fancy office where Dr. AJ Hill seems to be talking to the player directly about the game they're playing and asking how we feel about a picture of a cornfield. After some ominous warnings that the past is beyond our control, Dr. Hill returns to his window and sends us into the opening credits, where we learn through a weird YouTube-style video from Josh that the friends are all meeting up again at the lodge on the anniversary of Hannah and Beth's disappearance.
I really want to spend some quality time with each and every one of you and just share some moments that we'll never forget.
Sam's bus drops her off at Blackwood Pines as episode 1 begins, and the Machete Man appears again, stalking Sam as she makes her way through the woods, giving us ample opportunities to have more of everyone's favourite part of video games, tutorials. We learn about QTEs again, the motion sensor function, and a more detailed explanation of the totems. Black totems represent death, red danger, brown for loss, yellow for guidance, and white for fortune. We already picked up our first death totem in the prologue, and now we get our first guidance totem. As Sam reaches the cable car station and looks around, we find a map of the area with the words "The past is beyond our control" written across it, the same words Dr. Hill said to us in our ethereal therapy session with him. We also find Chris, who has a crush on a girl called Ashley and insists he has something amazing to show us behind the cable car station. I tried that once, Chris. Nice try. Following Chris, we find a torn wanted poster on the wall, which is our first clue for the Mystery Man collectibles, but that's not what Chris is interested in. Instead, he shows us a shooting range.
What the hell is a shooting range doing at the base of a ski lodge?
I'll tell you what it's here for, Sam. It's time for another tutorial. This one introduces the aiming mechanic, and after shooting a few cans and sandbags, we're given the chance to shoot the squirrel that Sam fed nuts to earlier. We of course don't do that, and shoot something non-sentient instead, which was a good call, because if we had, then nature would have fought back and attacked Sam for some reason. With nature in balance, we return to the cable car station, and while we wait, we find a poster for Blackwood Pines Hotel and Sanatorium, and a CCTV camera showing us a bathtub. Oh no, of course not, it's just the outside of the station. Once in the cable car, Sam and Chris chat about how weird it is to be coming back to the lodge, and Chris gives us another healthy dose of butterfly effect exposition, telling us that both Chris and Josh only met because of some kids misbehaving in class, leading to some seat changes, and the two of them being sat next to each other.
Boom. Butterfly effect.
Next we meet Jessica, Mike's new girlfriend and one of, if not the main instigator of the prank 1 year ago. She helped Chris and Sam out of the cable car station but elects to stay behind and wait for more people to arrive.
You mean Mike?
What? I mean, you know, whoever.
In quick succession we meet Emily, Mike's ex, Matt, Emily's new boyfriend, and...
Jesus!
You guys.
Michael!
You really should have seen your faces right there.
Dude, I almost clocked you just now.
Nice one.
Their reunion is a little tense, so we play it cool with Mike, but when he leaves to check on the cable car station, Emily suddenly remembers that she needs to see Sam before reaching the lodge and asks us to carry all the luggage the rest of the way. Most dialogue choices, like this one, don't actually affect what happens next, and whatever we choose we end up solo marching up the mountain, but in case you haven't been paying attention, some choices will have lasting consequences, like the one our next character, Ashley, who has a crush on Chris, will have to make in a moment. While peering through a viewfinder, Ashley spies Mike and Emily having a moment together. Now the game wants us to believe that this is the two of them reconciling and having an intimate moment, but I, an obvious master of body language, always read this as more of an argument. Not quite a violent one or intense or anything like that, but it's definitely not romantic. But either way, our snooping complete, we look around and find...
Oh, God!
Hey, whoa. Sorry there. Sorry about that, Ash. I didn't mean to scare
Jeez
you.
Louise,
well, I
Matt.
did mean to scare you, sort of scare you.
It's clear that pranks among the group are pretty common, and since the game goes on to explore the similarities between pranking and just plain bullying, you could argue that Josh and Chris's first meeting wasn't just a case of the butterfly effect, but that it was all caused by someone else's prank. Matt apologizes for his behavior and asks to check out the viewfinder, where we're given the important choice that will affect things later on. Letting Matt see Emily and Mike together will cause tension and arguments once we reach the lodge, so we decide to mislead Matt and tell him that the viewfinder is broken before heading up. We return to Jess at the cable car station as she passes some time waiting for Mike to arrive.
Oh, you did not just do that.
Put your hands where I can see them. We've got you surrounded.
Mike and Jess live out their rom-com fantasies together in the snow while soft copyrighted music plays in the background and many a euphemism are exchanged. Another tutorial explains to us that sometimes the right choice is to do nothing, and choosing to do nothing right now not only stops us from killing an innocent bird and disrupting nature, but also gives us a clear shot at Mike a few seconds later. The pair finally decide to head up the mountain to the lodge and don't seem to notice a mysterious person arriving on the cable car. Next, we're back with our old friend Dr. Hill, who briefly lines up with a set of decorative antlers and looks rather demonic as he welcomes us back to another session. This time he wants to ask us about our fears and has us choose between images that most frighten us, including crowds, heights, gore, crows...
Oh. Did that startle you? So sorry. You're doing very well. Don't be nervous.
This is one of my favourite scenes with Dr. Hill. It's the perfect combination of comfort and discomfort. The office is familiar, but it's changed from last time. It's night with a cold light shining through the window rather than the warm evening we saw earlier. The decor is different. Gone are the filing cabinets and oil paintings on the walls that give the feeling of an office, replaced with stone walls and a hunting trophy. And we're still not sure of Dr. Hill's intentions. Is he here to help us or torment us? Is he even really here at all? What is he, both to the player and the narrative of the game? Calming music plays in the background, but we keep cutting back to Dr. Hill making notes, almost like we're checking on him, like cutting between the cameras in FNAF or Observation Duty, except this time it's forced. The game wants us to feel uncomfortable in Dr. Hill's presence despite the fact that so far he's been welcoming and polite, if a little strange. And then the game reminds us that we're not safe from jump scares even here, making these visits to Dr. Hill both a calming break from the horror, and yet that horror is replaced with the anxiety of the unknown. We don't know what to expect each time we meet Dr. Hill, and that's perfectly displayed in this session. But once again we're out of time, so Dr. Hill returns to his window of brooding, now looking more like a cage, and after a previously on segment reminding us of things that happened 5 minutes ago, we jump right into episode 2 where we're properly introduced to Joshua, Hannah and Beth's brother. Now we need to find a way inside the lodge so we can open the door, which is frozen shut. Before finding a window we can fit through, we find an axe holder on the wall minus the axe, giving us another mystery man clue. After expertly vaulting the window, Josh goes to sort something out and leaves us to find a can of deodorant we can use with his lighter to flamethrower the wooden door and melt the ice that's jammed the lock. Before we do that though, we have a look around the dark and cramped rooms and find our first lost totem, a newspaper fragment and a family portrait, and we're about to head upstairs when I realise something.
Oh shit. There was... No, I have to go back. I missed one. I missed the fucking... totem. I knew there was one outside. You have to go and talk to, like, Matt and, oh, please, let me just repeat this chapter. Please, please, please. Fuck! I'm gonna have to start a new game, but I'm not doing that right. That's tomorrow. I've gotta go to bed.
You see, I played the first part of the game before recording to make sure all of my equipment worked and found a totem outside, which I forgot to pick up on this playthrough, and because I decided not to use a guide for my first playthrough, I didn't realise that I could collect this particular totem up later in a different chapter. So, not wanting to leave behind a totem I knew I'd missed, I started a new game and prepared myself to play the entire opening to the game again. But I'm not going to bore you with all that. I replayed the game and picked up every clue and totem so far, making the same choices, and this time remembering to head down the path again and collect another guidance totem. Back where we left off, we explore the lodge in the dark, hearing whispers and banging all around us, but on the bright side, we do find a prom photo, a beach photo, and a strangely voiced answer phone message which seems to be from Mrs. Washington, warning her that a man she seems to be on bad terms with is in the area.
Hi, Mrs. Washington. This is Sergeant Tate again. It's bad news, I'm afraid. Yeah, we've been through the case files, and there's nothing we can do. He's a free man. We don't have the legal power to restrict his movement. I know it's not what you wanted to hear, so call me if you want to know more.
End of messages.
We also find a movie trophy upstairs, our first clue as to how the Washingtons are rich enough to own a mountain. Loud banging is coming from the bathroom, so we head over there to check it out, but there's nothing to worry about, it's just a deodorant can.
Get the fuck? Ah. Perfect.
Deodorant in hand, we head downstairs and shoot fire at a wooden door, melting the lock and finally allowing everyone inside, and allowing our little furry friend to escape. What kind of animal is that anyway?
It's like a bear or a tiger or something.
Oh, it was just a cute little baby Wolverine.
Thanks, Sam. With everyone inside, they start to get comfortable, but Mike and Jess are a little too comfortable for Emily's liking, and a fight breaks out between them because God forbid we have two female characters get along together. Josh ain't about to have all this drama though and suggests that Mike and Jess check out the guest lodge instead. Emily realises one of her bags is missing and blames Matt, insisting they go back down the trail to find it, and Sam takes the opportunity to go have a bath.
Okay, I'm gonna go take a bath.
I'm gonna finally get to play some new content. Well, new that I just haven't played in like a decade. Josh lets Mike and Jess know that they'll need to fire up the nearby generator so they can actually see where they're going. So we make our way down to the shack and fire it up before getting jump scared. Just outside we find our first danger totem and we continue down the path, trying to ignore the creepy sounds and screams in the darkness until we find a mine shaft that we have no choice but to go through, and just in time too, because that mystery man is right behind you, Mike. Oblivious to their stalker, Mike and Jess continue through the mine and find our first fortune totem, a cigar stub, a strange symbol drawn on the wall, and a map showing dangerous areas of the mine, our first clue of the 1952 mystery. In case you weren't sure, there are 3 mysteries happening concurrently through the game, one being the mystery man who has been alluded to throughout the early game, the mystery of the twins, that being what happened to Hannah and Beth after they ran into the woods that night 1 year ago, and the mystery of 1952, which we have very little information on, but we now know has something to do with the mines, and we're going to need to find every single clue to get the platinum. Once outside the mine, we find a second lost totem just down the path and learn that bears are in the area, so caution is advised. We come to another block in the path, but that's not going to stop Jessica, who hops on top and nails Mike with a snowball that he should have absolutely seen coming. But when Mike turns back to throw his own snowball, Jess is gone, and we hear her scream in the distance. Back at the lodge, Sam's having trouble getting the hot water going, so she seeks out Josh, but not before we have a wander into Hannah's bedroom and find a few more clues. First up is a postcard on her bedside cabinet with a lovely picture of... Wait, isn't that the same farm that Dr. Hill showed us earlier? Brushing that off, we find a compatibility test in the wardrobe, and a card for a tattoo appointment. We saw Hannah with this tattoo earlier on, and the compatibility test gives us some more context, since it suggests that Hannah and Mike aren't that compatible together, but doing something wild like running away or getting a tattoo might get his attention. Back downstairs, Josh gives Chris and Ash a task: find the spirit board that Josh knows is hiding in the house somewhere so they can have some fun with it. Chris is skeptical of all things paranormal, but goes along with Ash, who finds the idea fun, while Sam and Josh head down to the basement to fire up the boiler. Josh is feeling pretty proud of himself for giving Chris and Ashley a task to do together, and Sam agrees that they make a cute couple, but then Josh makes a pretty weird comment.
I swear, they just need, like, something to bond over, you know, some sort of traumatic event to send them into each other's arms. I mean, at this rate, they'll be in the geriatric ward before Chris makes a move.
Down in the basement, we manage to get the boiler fired up, but strange noises are happening all around us. Sam and Josh tease each other about being scared, but suddenly the noises change, and Josh is clearly alarmed. They decide to check out the noise together, cautiously exploring the basement. The masked figure chases Sam and Josh back up the stairs, where it's revealed to be Chris playing yet another prank on them, and the eagle-eyed may have spotted him darting to his hiding spot just as the boiler kicked in earlier, and we were distracted giving high five at Josh. What did I just say? We were too distracted giving high five at Josh. Turns out Chris has found the spirit board, but Sam's had enough spookiness for one night and heads up to have her bath, leaving Josh, Chris and Ash to their seance. Back outside, we rejoin Matt and Emily and find...
This is the one from earlier. It is. I could have got it. I could have just gotten it later. I didn't have to play through all this again. Oh, okay. So that's how it's gonna be, huh? That's how it's gonna be. Yep, this is where I realised I didn't have to play through the game all over again to get that collectible, but we live and learn. This is a pre-order exclusive chapter, so the 2 clues that we find here don't count towards the platinum, but since we're here, we may as well get them anyway. The first is a cigar butt that can be found next to the lodge. Then we basically watch Matt and Emily flirt and squabble for a while until they come across the romantic side of a pig head with a threatening note attached to it, which prompts them to abandon Emily's lost bag of lingerie and head back to the lodge. Into episode 3 now, where Ashley, Chris and Josh are preparing for their seance. At first, things are spooky and fun, but things take a turn when the spirit talking to them claims to be Beth, Josh's sister. We try to ask for more information, but all we're told is to go to the library to find proof. Josh thinks Chris and Ash are working together to prank him or somehow help with his grief, but he's had enough and storms off, leaving Chris and Ash to plan their next move. Back with Mike and his missing lover, he quickly scales the block in his path and starts searching for Jessica, finding a second danger totem down a side path as he goes. With still no sign of Jessica, Mike calls out in the hopes that she's nearby.
I totally promise I won't murder you when I'm... Oh my... No.
That was so good!
Now reunited again, we find our third guidance totem a little further down the path before arriving at a ruined shack with an old mask hiding inside. Choosing not to prank Jessica with it, we go on our way, but are surprised by a fleeing deer. Fleeing from what, you might ask? Well, whatever it is catches up to it and leaves it incapacitated in the snow for us to find. We try to comfort the deer in its last moments, but something unseen yanks it away with tremendous speed and sends Mike and Jess running. A quick set of QTEs later, we enter the safety of the cabin and start getting ready for a romantic evening, complete with fire and mood lighting. But there are clues to be found first, one being a book of Native American myths on the table, which explains that the mythical symbol we saw earlier is a protective ward to fend off evil spirits. Next is a picture of Hannah playing tennis, and lastly is a Kama Sutra book on the bedside table. Okay, that's not a clue, but you never know when it's going to be useful. And it seems that our little lovebirds think the same. Because once we get the fire and mood lighting going, a whole lot of clothes go missing and they start to get busy! If only they had some music right now, that would really be cool, that'd be amazing.
What is that?
I don't know.
Okay, well, go find out now, please.
It's your phone.
Hey, thanks, creepy stalker. Someone or something outside throws Jessica's phone, which she lost in the commotion earlier, through the bedroom window, and Jessica, assuming it to be one of the other teens trying to ruin their fun, goes out to confront them.
Hey! Yeah, pricks! That means you! I know you're out there! The fuck are you trying to do? You wanna ruin our fun that bad? Well, guess what? You can't! You can't ruin our good time, because Michael and I are gonna fuck! That's right, we are going to have sex, and it's gonna be hot! So enjoy it, because I know we're going to!
With her venting over, she storms back inside and slams the door shut, but before we have a chance to break off a piece of that Kit Kat bar, Jess is grabbed by monstrous hands and pulled back through the doorway into the night.
Back with Chris and Ashley post-seance, we start our search for the library, but first it's time to split up and look for clues. Back in the corner we can find Hannah's glasses case, and at the bottom of the stairs is a strange light coming from the floor. As we enter the nearby study, books fly from the wall, revealing a hidden button which in turn opens a secret passage when pushed. Inside the hidden room we find a lovely photo of Hannah and Beth, and someone's written all over the back of it. Chris shares his find with Ashley and they decide to find Josh as quickly as possible to show him the proof from the library. Heading back through a doorway that opens on its own, we find a letter from Mrs. Washington talking about the Native American connections to the land and a donation she's made to their elder council. Not only that, but on the back of the letter is a note that mentions seeing a crazy guy hanging around the generator shed again. Chris tries to tell Ashley about more of the clues he's found earlier in the night, but as they're speculating we hear Josh calling out from the kitchen and the doors rattle violently. Ash goes to help but is pulled inside by an unseen force and the door slams shut. When Chris finally busts his way through the doors, he's met by a masked man with breathing problems who knocks him out and drags Ashley away before setting up some mood lighting of his own and a bunch of balloons and arrows pointed around the lodge. Episode 4 kicks off with Mike bursting out of the cabin in search of Jessica after seeing her pulled through the window by whatever was stalking them. Gun in hand, Michael must traverse many a dangerous QuickTime event, and if we want to reach Jessica in time, we need to make sure we're fast, so we throw caution to the wind and take every shortcut available, catching glimpses of Jessica but never close enough to reach her. We finally find our way to an abandoned mine shack, and we let Jessica wait for a moment while we grab a nearby guidance totem before returning to save our damsel in distress. Fortunately, she's just around the corner, abandoned by her kidnapper but badly wounded. Unfortunately, Mike isn't fast enough to do anything, so Jessica plummets down into the void. Mike spots the assailant high above him through the scope of his rifle and gives chase through some perilous QTE sequences. He reaches the top and chases after the menacing figure we've glimpsed since the start of the game, right out into the snow, where we see the figure moving towards the old sanatorium. Chris wakes up from his beatdown and finds himself all alone. With our friends nowhere to be seen inside the lodge, our only option is to head outside and hope to find them there. I remember that there were a couple of clues along this side path so I go to collect them, but I forgot one key detail. I forgot about that.
What in the hell? Who would do this?
After recovering from that fright, we head on and find another pig's head and another totem, and that's when I make an upsetting discovery. No! It's 2! Which means unless they come back later. I feel like I've checked everywhere! Shit! Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's still, maybe they slot in later. But I feel like they stack on top of each other. I feel like I should have found these two first. Shit! You see, as we've been collecting these totems, they've been stacking on top of each other, suggesting that if there's a gap anywhere in the tower, then a totem must have been missed somewhere. Regardless, we're too deep in now to start over, so we press onto the shed where we find Josh and Ashley locked in a contraption straight out of the Saw films, and wouldn't you know it, Jigsaw's here too.
Hello, and thank you all for joining me. Tonight, we're going to conduct a little experiment.
Chris is given the choice to save either Josh or Ashley, and the choice is his alone. Whoever Chris sacrifices will be severed in half by the circular saw menacingly spinning in front of them, and when we pull the lever to sacrifice Joshua to the blade, it kicks into action, splitting the final Washington child right across the waist.
Oh my God, what did I do? Ah! Stop it, you can't do this! Please!
This is fine.
Chris is given access to the room and gets Ashley out of her trap, running outside into the cold and leaving the body of his best friend behind, where they run into Matt and Emily and try to explain what's happened so far. And this whole scene is one example of how amazing the cast are in this game. Chris and Ashley sound genuinely traumatized and overwhelmed, and it's all credit to the actors Noah Fleece and Galadriel Steinman. And yes, Galadriel is her real name. Her mother read Lord of the Rings while pregnant and decided to name her baby after the Lady of Lorien. Emily decides that she and Matt will head to the cable car and try to get help, while Chris and Ash return to the lodge and try to gather everyone together. But before we can go ahead with that plan, it's time for another session with Dr. Hill, who seems far more jovial than we're used to, practically skipping around his torture dungeon of an office, but he quickly turns hostile, interrogating the player and asking if things are going to plan, if the group of friends are getting what they deserve. Whatever we tell him, he berates us for not playing honestly and returns to his window, sending us into chat.
Do you intend to continue with this elaborate self-indulgence?
Since Dr. Hill has decided he's not through with us yet, we answer his questions, and he makes an ominous comment when he asks if we think he's real or not.
Do you even believe that I am real? The heart of the problem, it all comes down to this. Can you really tell
And with that, he returns to his window, actually done with us this time, letting us slip into episode 5. Mike hides behind the wall of the sanatorium and spies the stranger and 2 wolves messing with a hatch against the wall before heading through the front doors. Once the coast is clear and we're in the grounds, we head over to the main gate and find our second fortune totem before heading through the main doors of the sanatorium. Don't worry, we'll go check out that hatch soon. We spy the stranger and his wolves through a viewing slot in the door, watching as they disappear from view. We try to enter, but we need a special keycard for the chapel to get through, so we head back outside and check out the thing the stranger was messing with, behind which we find a drop down to a hidden room, and because we have no self-preservation skills, we jump in. Fortunately, we're not in here long, as we find another lost totem and immediately climb our way back out of the basement, also finding a sheet of administration notes on a table across from our escape route. And hold on to your butts, because we're about to find a bunch of clues one after another. Here we go. We find clocking in cards, a broken camera, medical notes, an old newspaper, a restraining chair, a telegram about the miners, chopped off Mike's fingers but don't worry about it, a strange skull, a name tag, and finally a death certificate. The last few clues are found in the morgue, forcing us to open up a couple of creepy lockers to find them, until we come to the last and most disgusting of them all, and this is an image I still cringe at whenever I see it, because as we open the last locker and slide out the corpse on the trolley, we're given a lovely shot of its rotting face as a rat crawls out of its open mouth. And I always loved Mike's reactions to this. His stunned horror is exactly how I feel inside whenever I reach this part of the game. But anyway, we find what we needed, the keycard to access the chapel, so we take it and start heading back upstairs to safety. Shit, I forgot about that. Just kidding, Wolfie isn't happy with us being here, so we take off running with the hound on our heels, barely managing to slam a door shut between us as we reach a higher level of the sanatorium. A noise gets our attention and we see the stranger leave through the back exit of the chapel, so we feel safe to head on down and say our prayers. But of course, the security guard isn't happy seeing us barge in and almost receives a swift kick from Mike, but instead we find a bone for the little guy to chew on and get him on our good side. We also find a cigar box and an old coat which Mike is fine with claiming as his own, so while he gets dressed I'll give a brief explanation of what we found in the mines. Basically, there was a mining operation going on in the mountain until a cave-in trapped 30 men underground with no food and no light. We know there were 30 because of the clocking in cards that had been locked away in a safe that we had to pry open. Yet when the men were eventually rescued, only 12 were recovered, looking healthier than expected, but had problems reintegrating. And soon we'll find a photo of the rescued miners that tells us all 12 miners were saved, nicknaming them the Miracle Men. Reporters were also banned from visiting the psychiatric ward where the miners were kept, and one even had their camera confiscated and intentionally damaged. It's clear that the owner of the mine, Jefferson Bragg, who was also the founder of the sanatorium and hotel, was trying to cover something up, and the reason for it has been teased but unconfirmed, until we read the death certificate and find a hastily written note telling us that the body has been partially eaten. The miners were so desperate in the cave-in that they resorted to cannibalizing their colleagues, and when they returned to the surface they could not satiate their craving for it, and it's implied that experiments were carried out on them too. As tragic as that is, there's still a lot to uncover, so we rejoin Mike decked out and packing heat as he investigates a wall of clippings in a side room of the stranger's hideout. Feeling the urge to get out of here, we shoot a lock preventing us from leaving through the same door as the stranger and find a staircase with a cool creepy window looming over it, as well as a death totem hidden away in the corner, and we also learn that like the mystery clues, the totems aren't necessarily in the right order of how they're unlocked in the menu, meaning there's still a chance for a perfect run. Opposite the totem is the photo of the Miracle Men I mentioned earlier, so we can tick them off the list as Mike heads down into the basement in search of an escape. We get a quick shot of the masked man locking Mad and Emily's gate as they leave, preventing them from getting back to the lodge. Unless, they just climb over the wall. We head down to the cable car station, but before we head over to investigate properly, we can find another death totem hiding away in the corner. Back over at the station, we arm ourselves with the missing axe from the lodge, which is wound up ominously stuck in the door. Breaking the door down, we find the place trashed, the cable car out of reach, and the keys nowhere to be found. But there's hope as we check the map on the wall and notice a radio tower that might have a working radio. So we edge our way along the wall, ignoring the perilous drop before us, and shuffle around to the other side of the station, where we find not only a path that will hopefully lead us to the radio tower, but another totem baby. Following the path doesn't take us to the radio tower, but to somewhere else very familiar instead. Heading over to a wooden bridge tunnel thing a little ways back, we can find Beth's phone. She dropped it here in the prologue, meaning it's been hiding here under the floorboards for a year, unnoticed by the search parties and law enforcement that supposedly swept the entire mountain. We head over to the cliff edge where we know Hannah and Beth fell from, meeting my favourite side character, Dan Cliff. But our friendship is cut short by strange noises and familiar screams around us, and when we turn to leave, we find our path blocked by a herd of deer, and they don't seem too happy. We leave the National Geographic duo for now and head back to the lodge where Sam, after a day of navigating creepy basements, is relaxing in a jacuzzi whirlpool bath. And she's completely oblivious to the masked man watching her from the shadows, as was I the first time I played the game. Disturbed by the draft of the door blowing out her candles, Sam assumes this is yet another prank cooked up by the others, and her suspicions seem confirmed to her when she finds her pile of clothes missing. Venturing out to confront them, there's nobody to be found, but what can be found is a business card recording the purchase of several saw blades. This means nothing to Sam, so she follows the balloons down to the lower floor and into the home theatre, again not noticing as someone steps forth from the shadows, watching her. Now it's Sam's turn to be tormented, as the Jigsaw wannabe magically makes the theatre doors slam shut and speaks to her from somewhere unseen, showing her cinematics of the game that he shouldn't have been able to actually record without being seen, but whatever, that happens a lot in this game.
What did you do?
I'm going to give you 10 seconds. 9,
No,
8,
no, 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 no,
7.
please, no!
Sam!
For some reason, I choose not to throw the vase at the killer and instead just book it, jumping over a bed that gets in the way and running down to everyone's favourite place, the basement. We don't want to stay here though, so we keep running, coming to a door with no handle as the killer approaches, needle in hand. We pull down the wine rack beside us, which not only gets us the door handle we need, but also apparently slows down the killer enough that he's unable to reach us in time, and we slam the door shut on him, as well as the small window which he tries to use to open the door from the other side. Briefly out of the killer's grasp, we burst our way through a locked door and find a super old decrepit corridor. Venturing down it, we're given the familiar option to either hide or keep running. Now the eagle-eyed among you may have noticed that the killer can briefly be seen at the end of this corridor before Sam looks that way, a detail I only noticed while editing this video, despite the countless times I played this game before. Fortunately, we know to hide from the killer here anyway, and drop down into the elevator shaft, turning off our flashlight just in time for the killer to lose us. And with the chapter over, we're rewarded with our first trophy! Woo! First trophy! What was that for? What the fuck? Okay, so I guess it does them all at the end of the chapter. That was ages ago. Yep, remember earlier when I threw in that we cut off Mike's fingers in the sanatorium? That was for this trophy, since if you investigate this obvious trap setup in the middle of the room, Mike's fingers will be yanked into a bear trap and you're forced to either pry the bars open with the machete you just found, or amputate Mike's fingers and save the machete for future use. Now I don't know how painful chopping off your fingers are here, but I love how delusional Mike sounds in the aftermath of this operation.
Meanie, miny, oh, catch a tiger by the toe, iffy. Let him go, I don't know what the fuck to go. Okay.
Snapping back to reality, or unreality I guess, since we're back with Dr. Hill now, and he's not happy with us, scolding us for things not going to plan and wasting our potential. He observes the picture of the farm from our first session, the same one we can find in Hannah's bedroom, but little does he know he's in for a jump scare of his own. We're into episode 6 now though, and back with the Discovery Channel's new host, Matt and Emily. Fortunately, these deer are just curious, and walking towards them will make them back away, except for one who spent a little too long sniffing the air at us and prompts a QTE to hit it with the axe. We don't do it of course, and the deer kindly let us continue on our way. When we finally reach the radio tower, a motion-activated security light guides us onward, but fortunately my eyes wander just before we move on. Oh, that was close. Daft bugger. That's all of them, that's all the guidance totems. Okay, so what we've got is death, loss, danger, and a few fortune. I feel confident we're going to get the totems. Yep, I almost missed a totem, and it's the last totem of the guidance branch, so we can check those off our list. As we start to climb the tower, Matt decides to ditch the axe at the bottom for plot reasons, and when we reach the top, we learn that there's no power, but fortunately the mains are just outside the door. Before we do that though, we find Hannah's missing poster in a nearby locker and an emergency flare, which we give to Matt for reasons we'll look into later. Matt fires the flare into the sky, hoping to catch the attention of anyone who can help them, and with the power restored, we can head inside to print off Beth's missing poster too. With the radio operational, we get messages from the Ranger Service for Blackwood County, but Emily struggles to communicate with them. After a lot of back and forth, the Rangers seem to understand that there's a problem on the mountain and promise to send helicopters to save them when the storm has subsided.
What? When? How long?
Dawn, at the earliest. Not until dawn.
Jesus.
While the fourth wall might be broken, whatever's outside doesn't seem able to break through the wooden trapdoor separating it from Emily and Matt, but it has absolutely no issue casually severing a support line to the tower. Hey, it's down cliff again. Courage. Which immediately starts to feel the full effect of the storm and comes tumbling down, sliding right into the opening of a mine shaft. Emily's in a rough spot when we cautiously make our way over to her, but when we try to save her, the entire tower shifts and we're forced to save ourselves, letting Emily plummet down to the depths. Back at the lodge, Chris and Ash are having trouble finding Sam, so they follow the same balloon Sam did while spooky stuff starts to happen, like candles bursting into flames spontaneously, doors shutting on their own, and even a ghost. Chris isn't convinced though, and suggests that Ashley is seeing things because of everything that's happened so far. But even he seems a little shaken by some of the things that happen once they reach the basement, like loud noises, a rocking chair moving on its own, and worst of all, Ashley clipping through the map. Ash finds a dollhouse, but can't quite see inside until she finds the key, which our poltergeist pal is more than happy to help us find by throwing a picture off the wall while Chris and Ash argue. Hung up on the wall is a key, and just in case you weren't sure where to put it, the ghost is back with a helping hand, or a finger, and even Chris can't deny its existence now. When they open the dollhouse, they see figures set up in different rooms, replicating where everyone was when the prank happened. Ashley suggests it's the ghost of Hannah or Beth tormenting them for what happened there that night 1 year ago, but Chris is still skeptical and insists it's still the murderer trying to mess with them, letting them know that he's going to get the rest of them too. After a spooky jump scare, the roof of the dollhouse opens and we find Hannah's diary where she fawns over Mike and writes about how excited she is for the party. With a click, the door at the end of the corridor starts to open and we head down to face our jump scare. Oh, I must be mistaken. I thought this is... There we go. Once inside, we find a catalogue of heavy-duty bulbs with one for a projector circled, and underneath a set of scissors that we can pocket in case we do some arts and crafts later. The ground shakes as we work our way deeper into the pits of the house, letting us know that Matt and Emily have started their impromptu mining expedition. And our exploration of the old hotel corridors rewards us with the discovery of some fake newspapers, and even further down we find some batteries hooked up to timers, presumably used by the masked man to help enact his scheme. Not much further down the passage, we enter what seems to be a slaughterhouse, complete with hooks and chains, a dead pig, and photos of our best buds oh so lovingly pinned to the wall. There's also another projector in a back room, which plays part of the video recorded during the prank before Hannah's regular visage corrupts into a spectral nightmare and screams out at them. More determined than ever to find Sam, we continue on until we find a door with a blood trail leading through it. Chris gets the door ajar but has trouble keeping it open. At the same time, Ash sees someone moving nearby and thinks it's Sam. We're forced to choose between the two paths and head off to investigate the movement, leaving Chris behind. And to Ashley's terror, it's not Sam moving around back there, but the masked man, who fortunately doesn't find her even with all the screaming she was doing mere feet away from him a few seconds ago. We literally bump into Chris after we sneak away from the killer and hear Sam calling out, but when we go to investigate further, it's yet again not Sam we find.
I don't get it.
It's a dummy.
Yeah, no, I can see that.
Why is it dressed up like Sam?
I don't know.
Why would someone dress up a dummy like Sam?
Chris, I don't know, and I'm kind of freaking out.
Where the hell is Sam?
This is crazy. This is crazy. Oh, shit! Ah! No, get back! Stay the hell away from me!
With a perfect opportunity to stab the killer, we choose not to, and Ash is gassed to sleep. The reason I did that was because we got the scissors, but if we stab him, I don't think that actually helps us. That's where you're wrong past me, because you see, one of the trophies we need is the Psychopath, which we can achieve by having either Ashley or Sam attack the killer when given the chance. But because I decided to do a blind run first, I didn't know this was a trophy, and at both opportunities, for some reason, I actively decided to not do it. So that's one trophy we're definitely going to have to come back and get. Back with Chris and Ash, they wake to find themselves tied up on opposite ends of a table to each other, and it's all too much for Ashley, who starts to admit her feelings to Chris, who in turn confesses to her, and it's all sweet and lovely until the trauma part of their traumatic experience really kicks in. Saw blades start spinning above them and slowly begin to descend, ready to split them right down the middle, and the Jigsaw wannabe's back to tell us about how the game he's made for us is played.
Hello there, my special little subjects.
So scared, Chris.
Don't be scared.
Oh, you should be, Ash. Because here's the twist. Chris has made one fatal choice already today, and now he must make another. Chris, you can take that gun in front of you and shoot Ashley, or you can shoot yourself. Whoever is left can live. The choice is yours.
Now, of course, we don't want to shoot Ashley, but shooting Chris doesn't sound too fun either. So instead, we take some guidance from a totem we found earlier and instead wait out the timer, choosing to do nothing. But before we get to see the consequences of our actions, we're brought right back to Dr. Hill's office. All kindness is gone from Dr. Hill now, yelling at the killer and calling him some rather rude names, finally landing on a word he seems to have been holding back from using.
What the hell have you done for them? Huh? What the hell have you done to them? Psychopath. Psychopath!
After another quick previously on segment, we crawl into episode 7 with Sam and immediately start to find some unsettling clues as to who our mystery man really is. Firstly, we find blueprints for a death machine that seems to show someone standing in a hidden compartment with only their head showing, a fake body hanging in front of it. In a nearby desk, we can find a psychiatric report on Josh, detailing a troubled past even before the disappearance of Hannah and Beth. And who's his most recent physician? Why, it's none other than Dr. Alan Hill, who Josh was referred to due to being a potential suicide risk. We also find Josh's phone nearby with messages between Josh and Dr. Hill discussing a plan that Josh has come up with, but Dr. Hill thinks won't help him. When Dr. Hill asks if Josh is still taking his meds, Josh replies with a simple "I'm fine" and stops responding to the doctor's pleas to contact him. There's also a remembrance board nearby covered with pictures of Hannah and Beth, as well as missing posters, rosettes, and other trinkets that must have belonged to the twins. Hidden away is also a voice recording of the Psycho rehearsing his lines, but after a while the voice modifier drops and we hear his real voice, and he sounds very familiar.
Hello, and thank you all for joining me. Tonight, we're going to conduct a little experiment.
Hello, children. No, that's not right. Greetings, pilgrims.
Holy shit.
Before we leave, we can spy the masked man through a hatch as he spies on Chris and Ashley before walking off screen. We can also get a double whammy in the next room, finding a video camera and the dummy wearing Sam's clothes, taking off 2 more mystery man clues. But as we go to leave, a hand shoots out from a grid at our feet and grabs Sam. Not to worry though, it's only Mike, who somehow found his way back to the lodge through a series of underground tunnels that connect the sanatorium to the old hotel and the lodge. The pair manage to meet up before heading out to rescue Chris and Ashley and confront the Psycho.
No! No, get away!
Oh, Chris. Oh, Chris.
What the fuck?
You've heard of blanks before. I mean, really?
Yep, in case it wasn't obvious already, Josh is the masked man that's been terrorizing Sam, Ash, and Chris, and we'll talk a little more about that soon. But first, you might be thinking, well, that's the mystery over. Surely we should get the trophy for finding all of the clues. And you would be right to think that. Except out of the 30 clues needed for the trophy, I found 29 in my first playthrough, meaning we're going to have to backtrack later on and get that missing clue. Which is a shame, since I wanted to try and get everything in one run. But hey, 29 out of 30 is pretty solid, so we'll move on and rejoin Emily, who's hanging out in the mines. We swing to safety and watch the tower plummet even further down the chasm before fashioning a torch and heading into the mines, animalistic bird-like calls and screeches echoing all around us. We find a photo and a chest of the blasting crew getting ready to dynamite the mine, but unfortunately they haven't left any behind for us to use, so we lose a minecart that smashes through the gate blocking our path and gives us entry to a larger room with an elevator in it. The only problem is it's not working right now, so our next quest is to head on up to the balcony and fire the elevator up again. We grab a nearby death totem and find a clocking in machine for the miners, but all of the clocking in cards are missing. We head up a nearby ladder to kickstart the elevator, but said ladder isn't too big of a fan of that idea and would much rather lie down, sending Emily skirting down a cliff face to meet some new friends. Exploring the caves with what little light we have that aren't flames shot from the darkness and even more screeches around us brings us to find a lovely photo of a miner and his family. We finally work our way back to where we were before, and even better news is that we're up on the balcony so we can get that elevator going. The bad news is we need to find a way back down again, so off we go in search of another path. One more danger totem later, we arrive somewhere vaguely familiar, a big cave with an opening in the ceiling that Emily tries to scale, but to no avail. With that plan foiled, we explore the room a bit more and find some unsettling items, including Hannah's glasses, her locket, a photo of Hannah showing off her new tattoo, and some scratches on a rock that seem to be counting days, the starting date being February 2nd, 2014, exactly 1 year ago. Not far away, we also find a cross marking Beth's supposed final resting place, but whatever happened to her, it wasn't her final resting place for long, because not far away we also find... Yep, for whatever reason, Beth's head has been propped up away from her grave and left to rot, and that haunting image sounds like a good cue to get the hell out of Dodge, so we continue on back to the elevator and begin our escape. Now the only problem is that when the elevator stops, it drops us off right around the corner from the stranger from the sanatorium. Regardless of if we succeed the motion sensor check or not, a chase ensues with the stranger hot on our heels, eventually cornering us. With the option to turn back or hide, we summon our courage and face the stranger, but the game isn't quite ready for us to do that just yet, so instead we snap back to Josh and friends back at the lodge, the mystery man finally revealed, as the mastermind monologues to them asking if they've enjoyed their torment. Josh is deliriously happy with how his prank has turned out, gloating his success and relishing in the aftermath of the group's fear, but his glee turns to shock in an instant when Mike reveals that Jessica is dead and accuses Josh of the murder, knocking him out and escorting him out to the shed with Chris. Josh pleads his innocence over and over again, but soon realizes that he can't convince his captors, so he resorts to antagonizing them instead, and this is one of my favorite scenes in the entire game, thanks to how Rami Malek shines. Like, when I think of this game, this sequence is one that comes through very, very frequently as like a memory for me. Josh knows exactly which buttons to press to get a rise out of Mike and Chris, and his transition between a desperate friend and an unhinged psychopath is both comical and disturbing.
Stay still,
Right,
man.
right, still. Okay, can't tie him up if they just wiggle around.
Gosh,
dude! Leave me a little wiggle room, huh?
What does it take to shut you up?
Oh, not so tight, okay? Not so tight, okay? Those plastic ties, that's where it's at.
In God's name, is he talking about? This is hard to watch. You ever say this kind of shit before?
Oh, I've never seen him like this.
Money back!
Mike sends Chris back to the lodge so he can get the popcorn ready for episode 8, which kicks off with Emily back in the mines, the stranger from the sanatorium looming over her and shushing her to be quiet. We start to find out why as an inhuman limb starts to crawl out of the tunnel behind them, but we don't get to stay around to find out what it is because the stranger breaks down a wooden barrier and pushes Emily down a runway, telling her to use the flares he throws down after her. When we finally find solid ground again, we find another fortune totem, but some kind of golem-like creature has also found us. It chases us to an intersection where we choose between right and left, and of course we choose. We find an elevator to help whisk us away to safety, but turns out the Wendigo is onto our plan and keeps up the chase. We finally get above ground and continue our escape, bringing down someone's hard-earned rock collection on top of the creature and reaching a conveyor belt that we need to jump off of when we can. Just when we think we might be safe, the creature bursts through the door we're taking cover behind and sinks its teeth into Emily's shoulder, forcing her to flee by jumping onto some kind of conveyor rod and tanking a fall from a height and speed that should have killed her. Once back on her miraculously not broken legs, she takes off for the lodge and gets there in record time. The group asks her what happened, and she does her best to explain that there's a monster out there chasing her despite the group's insistence that it was all Josh. She seems to get through to them when she starts talking about finding Beth's head down in the mine, and worries that Hannah may have been alive down there for weeks while they were just above her looking for her, which certainly seems to be the case. After hearing a scream, Mike comes back and shares a close moment with Emily before there's a knock at the door, and the stranger from the mine comes to give some sweet exposition. Turns out that the mountain the Washingtons bought is haunted by the spirit of the Wendigo, which awakens when anyone in the area resorts to cannibalism, and those miners all those years ago done gone stirred up those evil spirits. He tells the group to get somewhere safe and wait there. How long, you ask? Emily knows.
Till dawn.
Good job, Emily. Mike remembers that Josh is back at the shed, and despite the stranger's warnings that he'll already be dead, Chris insists on going back to save him. Ashley seems to have learned something from Josh's prank at least, since she walks right up to Chris and gives him a little smoochy smooch for good luck before he goes out on his suicide mission, and all thanks to us not shooting her in the face earlier. How romantic. We arrive at the shed and find that Josh really is gone, but the Wendigo isn't. It's still in the area, so the stranger insists we leave right away. Fortunately, he's happy to wait for us while we walk a little bit behind the shed to find another lost totem before we head back. But turns out the Wendigo is closer than we thought and manages to get the jump on the stranger, decapitating him with a single swipe. Left to fend for himself, Chris battles against some QTEs to keep the Wendigos at bay long enough to get back to the lodge, where Ashley thankfully opens the door for him to get back inside. Down in the basement, Chris breaks the news that the stranger won't be coming back, and instead of bunkering down in the basement like Sam suggests... Oh, how long should we stay down here, Sam?
We should stay put right here until dawn.
Thanks, Sam. Mike decides he'd rather get out of here before the Wendigo finds them, meaning he has to go down to the Wendigo's lair in the mines to get the cable car key back from Josh, where Emily thinks the Wendigo will have taken him. As they plan their next move, Ashley spots Emily's wound and hysteria breaks out. Since you become a Wendigo by cannibalization, Ashley makes the leap in logic that if the Wendigo bites you, then you must become a Wendigo too. The group is split between whether to let Emily stay with them or force her to leave, since they don't know for certain that's how the curse works, but when Emily refuses to leave either way, Mike pulls a gun on her and we're left with a choice.
Hey, whoa, Mike, calm down.
You're gonna shoot me? Like me?
This is the safe room, Em.
Please.
It is not safe as long as you're in it. Not for us.
Don't do that!
I'm really sorry.
Of course we're not going to kill her, so we let the timer run out, and it's a good thing we did, because once Mike leaves to find Josh, Ashley reads through the stranger's journal and learns that the bites aren't infectious. Emily's obviously pissed that she was almost killed for no reason, but we're going to gloss over that because reading the Stranger's journal gives us 4 more clues to tick off our list and gives us some useful information on the Wendigos that the Stranger tells us earlier if we bother to listen. Sam thinks Mike needs to know this information since he left before reading the journal, and for some reason everyone goes to find him. But we're not focusing on that because we finally got our second trophy, Let Em In, which we got for not shooting Emily in the face. Woo! Trophy number 2. Let's go. Not that it needed to, but this game really seems to be letting us know that shooting people in the face is typically a bad thing to do. And this is why it was important to not have the flare gun earlier as Emily, otherwise she would have protected herself from the Wendigo bite and we wouldn't have gotten the chance to get this trophy. We're back with Dr. Hill now, and for the first time we see Joshua there too, the real patient, and this revelation recontextualizes a lot of the mystery behind Dr. Hill's behaviour towards us. The photograph of the scarecrow and the barn, the game that he keeps saying is going wrong not being the game the player is playing, but the game that Josh has set up for his friends. And when he asks us if our friends are getting what they deserve, he's not asking the unknowing player, he's asking Josh if this is what his friends really deserve. The good doctor has no sympathy for Josh now though, and his only form of comfort is vainly suggesting that Joshua's friends might still come and save him. We're back at the sanatorium with Mike at the start of episode 9, and after arming ourselves with one of the Stranger's sawn-off shotguns, we can head into some new areas and find another danger totem, as well as some makeshift graves of sanatorium workers killed by the Wendigos. We meet up with Wolfie and have a wholesome moment with our furry friend before heading further into the sanatorium and finding a doctor's report of the miners who were brought to the facility 5 days prior. But we don't need a doctor's report to find out what happened to Wolfie number 2, who's unfortunately so messed up that I'm not even going to risk showing it on YouTube, but I can show you this old film reel which shows someone break free of a restraining chair and climb the walls before attacking the camera, and a case study dossier recording the progression of the miner's transformation into the Wendigos. Hidden behind a fake wall is an office and the long-dead corpse of Jefferson Bragg, the founder of the Blackwood Mines, Hotel and Sanatorium. Turns out he drank poison, before scrawling a suicide note where he tells of his regrets for his actions, and his corpse has been slowly rotting away up here on the mountain ever since. Better rotting than possessed by a Wendigo though, and speaking of Wendigos, we bump into another and a chase ensues. We're given the choice between turning left and going straight ahead, and it's vitally important that we turn left. One more don't move section later and we're in the bowels of the sanatorium where we find the Wendigos trapped and restrained. With 2 more on our tail, we blast a nearby oil drum and make some Wendigo barbecue wings, releasing their spirits to the mountain. More catch up to us and we somehow use a sawn-off shotgun to blast apart a tiny lock on a door 20 feet away from us so we can barricade ourselves inside. We drop down a hole into the floor, but Wolfie decides to go it alone from here on out, leaving us to be chased by one more Wendigo into a boiler room of some kind filled with more of those oil drums, and without a second thought, we blast the sanatorium and the Wendigos inside to smithereens. Well, most of them at least. Back in the tunnels beneath the lodge, the search for Mike continues, but we run into trouble when we find he's locked one of the doors behind him, trapping us on the other side. We find another danger totem nearby and a manhole we can open to hopefully find another way out, but Sam's in so much of a rush that she can't wait 5 seconds for us to close the manhole behind us, leaving Ashley alone to catch up with them. The only problem is it sounds like we're not the only ones down here.
Hello? Who's there? Anybody? Jessica! Is it you?
We hear what sounds like Jessica calling for help nearby, but my big brain already knows that that's a trap, so instead I head over to rejoin the group. We come to an impassable barricade, impassable that is except for Sam, who decides to break out her Spidey skills again and send the rest of the group back to the lodge while she finds Mike. A few QTEs later we reach the top and, because we're so smart, we trap ourselves out of a couple of areas before we can fully explore them, so let's hope there's nothing important over there. But we don't have much time to worry about that because great news, we found Mike! Bad news, he has a smoking hot Wendigo on his heels. Sam takes a leaf out of Thor's book and goes for the head, releasing another Wendigo spirit to save Mike so they continue into the mines together, and giving us the trophy the Skillful Wolfman for managing to keep Wolfie alive during our exploration of the sanatorium. Now that we're in the endgame, we finally get to play as Josh, who's having a last one-to-one session with Dr. Hill in the Wendigo's lair, and the good doctor doesn't think that Josh is benefiting much from their meetings, so he leaves Josh and the game for good, and what follows is a glimpse into Josh's dark reality as his mind spirals with voices in his head and hallucinations of his sisters starting to torment him. Leaving behind Josh and his visions of faces being ripped off, we regroup with Sam and Mike as they approach the Wendigo's lair. Nearby, we find Beth's watch, and after a little swim, we find one of the most important pieces of evidence in the game, Hannah's scrawled journal, where we confirm that Hannah sadly resorted to cannibalizing Beth to survive in the caves after weeks of starving and became a Wendigo. The good news though is that this is the last piece of evidence for what happened to Hannah and Beth, which means we unlock the trophy, the Tale of the Two Sisters, for finding every clue in the twins' clue line. Sam and Mike push on, unaware of a Wendigo watching them from the pool, and find the body of the stranger hung up to age so he can get all nice and tender. It's kind of funny seeing Sam and Mike react so devastated to this because the game clearly expects you to have gotten more characters killed by this point to decorate the room, and Mike even says he sees lots of bodies hung up. But at a push, all I can count is 2, and I'm not even convinced they're 2 different people, since they're both wearing these bright yellow pants that I wouldn't wear if you paid me, and the only reason I think they're 2 different people is because Sam and Mike don't seem to move between the 2 shots we see them in, and the corpses seem to be in 2 different places. Either way, Mike spots Josh in the next room and he's not having a good time, so the pair rush in to bring him back to his senses, but Sam just can't keep quiet about what she's read in Hannah's journal and tells Josh that Hannah was down in the mines before Mike insists they get going. Josh gives the cable car key to Sam, who decides she's had enough of the mines and takes off up the wall again, leaving us with Josh and Mike as they look for their own way back out. We find a fortune totem nearby, but it won't be bringing Josh much luck, since as we're wading back through the pool from earlier, Mike gets pulled under and Josh gets...
No, you're not real! No, you're not! Hello!
Josh realises that the Wendigo is Hannah thanks to her tattoo and because we picked up Hannah's journal earlier, and there seems to be enough humanity left in Hannah that she decides to spare Josh, carrying him back to her lair as Mike trembles nearby. Next, we get 2 blasts from the past as Matt and Jessica find each other in the mines, having not seen these characters since episode 6 and 4 respectively. We explore the mines briefly before realising we're not alone. When given the chance to either hide or run, I of course choose to run.
Jess, come on. Come on, come on.
If the game didn't save, it didn't happen. Alright. I say that's probably going to be used against me in the future when I try and be like, oh, well, it counts because and I'll be like, no, because it's not in the save, so it didn't have it. I don't care. Okay? If the game doesn't save it, it didn't happen. You're exactly right, past me. If the game didn't save, then it didn't happen, meaning we can come back and choose the correct option, which is to hide, of course. Does this mean my run isn't 100% legit? Yeah! Do I care? Not really. Will I pull shit like this in the future again if I can? Abso-fucking-lutely I will. With Matt and Jessica safe and sound, we rejoin Sam climbing out of the ground. We find the last danger totem on our way back to the lodge where we meet up with Mike and decide to head down to the basement and check on the others, and wouldn't you know it, they're running up to greet us. There's Chris and Ash and Emily and the Wendigos, everyone's here. Even the Hannah Wendigo is looking to get in on the action, fortunately focusing her attention on the other Wendigos for now, one of which she slams into the fireplace and breaks a gas line, which Mike is quick to realise could be their way out of this. Sam has the same realization for plot reasons, and the next couple of minutes are just endless don't move segments while you watch every member of the group sneak out of the lodge one by one, until Sam's the only one left and we can finally race for the doorway ourselves, flicking the light switch and sending the lodge up in flames, with Hannah and any other Wendigos she didn't decimate inside. The group watch the sunrise in the glow of the burning lodge as rescue helicopters arrive to end the game, but we're far from finished. First, we need to tick off the trophies we've earned. There we go! All of the girls survived, okay. They all live. All 8 friends survived until dawn. Don't scare Jessica. Jessica survived her night of terror. A quicker man, all the boys escaped death. That's a new milestone. That's okay, that works too. Now it's time for some damage control. And it turns out I didn't miss as many things as I worried I would, and annoyingly, a lot of them are ones I remembered getting in playthroughs back in 2015 and just completely forgot about this time round. In total, we missed 5 totems, 1 clue for the mystery man and 2 clues for the 1952 mystery, but we have to go back and make some story changes anyway, so we jump back into episode 5 and find one of our missing fortune totems up on the Madden before we're confronted by the deer, and get the achievement The Psychopath for throwing a vase at the psycho. Nothing else to do this episode, so it's into episode 6, where we can find the missing hidden camera giving us the final mystery man clue and therefore the trophy You Opened Their Eyes. We also get the trophy Fatal Grudge for deciding to shoot Ashley in Josh's trauma trap, which in turn will get us the trophy Ashley Snaps when Ash does nothing to help Chris when he flees the Wendigo, resulting in his death. We also get the exorcism of Emily for shooting Emily in the basement instead of sparing her, and the fateful descent for finding the final clue in the 1952 mystery, which we find by choosing to hide from the stranger as Emily and finding a postcard tucked away to the side. Jumping ahead a little, down in the mines we decide to investigate the noise that sounds like Jessica, since it turns out my big brain move from earlier where I ignored this trap was actually not the best move, since I completely forgot that there's a totem down here to find and an exit in case you have a change of heart about opening the trapdoor. Bad news for Ashley though, we need to open that trapdoor to get the trophy You Let the Wrong One In, so it's bye bye Ash and hello trophy. We pick up a fortune totem by the Wendigo's path pool, and we don't pick up Hannah's journal this time. This journal is the one clue that can save Josh, but since we're not trying to save him this time round...
That is still blood.
Back with Mad and Jess in the mines, we find our final totem of the game hidden in a corner I thought I'd checked, earning us the trophy, Knight of the Totem Hunter.
Woo! Knight of the Totem Hunter! Found all the totems. Let's go. Literally, there's so little left to do. We're nearly there.
But Matt's 15 minutes of fame are up, since all we have to do now is wait for the timer to run out and the Wendigo will deal with Jess and Matt for us. Back at the lodge to finish things up once and for all, Mike and Sam encounter the Wendigos and just can't stay still, leading to Sam getting impaled and Mike blowing himself up with all of the Wendigos, leaving nobody alive at the end of the game and earning the achievement This Is the End. But we're not quite done yet, and since the game didn't have a chance to save after getting the achievement, I have an idea.
Okay, so what happens if I quickly close the game? Please don't tell me an autosave. Please tell me it's going to take me right back. That's going to make things so much easier. I don't have to replay the entire thing if I do. Aha! Oh, we got away with it.
So, now that I don't have to replay all of the final episode, we can earn our penultimate achievement, Instant Inferno, and all we have to do for this one is make Sam run for the light switch at the first opportunity, unfortunately killing Mike in the process and leaving Sam as the true final girl of the game. But with all the other trophies achieved, that means...
Instant Inferno. A symphony of horror trophies. Woo! Collected all gold, silver, and bronze. Oh god. Okay. That's that. That's that done. That is that done. Woo! Thanks for watching the video. If you've made it this far, I really appreciate it. This video took way longer than I intended for it to be made, but it was really fun to make, so thanks for checking it out. The pictures you're seeing on screen right now are drawings from friends. I originally planned to use them to censor moments in the video that I couldn't show, but I couldn't quite make it work, and I didn't want them to go to waste. So let me know if you can guess which moments in the game they're drawing. Here they are. If you did enjoy, please leave a like on the video. It really does let me know that you enjoyed the video. And it feeds my ego, so I'd really appreciate it. And let me know what else you'd like to see me platinum. Leave a comment down below, let me know. I've got a few lined up, but I'm open to suggestions. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!
Oh my god, I actually did it. I actually got all the way through that. It would be hilarious if I wasn't recording that. Please no.